My landlord said I'd never afford a real place until he saw what I was moving into. The eviction notice came on a Thursday morning, taped to my apartment door like a participation trophy for being poor. Dennis, my landlord, stood in the hallway with his arms crossed, watching me read it. 30 days, he said, not even pretending to care. Rent's going up next month anyway. You couldn't afford it even if I let you stay. I'd been renting his basement unit for 3 years, paying every month on time despite the black mold in the bathroom and the furnace that only worked when it felt like it. He raised the rent twice in those 3 years, and I never complained once. Now he wanted another $600 monthly because some tech workers were moving into the neighborhood. Dennis leaned against the doorframe like he was doing me a favor by explaining, look, nothing personal, but you're a substitute teacher. You work at Target on weekends. You're never going to afford anything better than this dump, so maybe it's time to accept reality and find a roommate situation or move back with your parents. His wife nodded from behind him, already mentally redecorating my unit for someone who could pay more. The worst part wasn't the eviction. It was that Dennis had been saying stuff like this for years, little comments about my income, my car, my life choices. When I bought my used Mazda, he laughed and said real adults lease new vehicles. When I mentioned saving money, he'd pat my shoulder and say, that's cute, like I was a kid playing pretend. His son worked in finance and apparently made 6 figures, which Dennis mentioned constantly. I'd smile and nod because I needed a place to live, but every interaction felt like he was reminding me I'd never measure up. The day I moved in, he told me not to get too comfortable because people like you don't stay in one place long. I didn't know what he meant by people like you, but I knew it wasn't a compliment. Now here he was, proving himself right in his own mind. I asked if I could have 60 days instead of 30 to find something. He actually laughed. 60 days to find what? Another basement? Face it, this is your ceiling. Some people are renters forever and that's okay. Not everyone gets to own property. What Dennis didn't know was that I'd been substitute teaching by choice, not necessity. My uncle died 2 years ago and left me his investment portfolio. Not millions, but enough that I'd been letting it grow while I figured out what I wanted to do. I kept working because I actually liked teaching, and the Target job was just for the employee discount and something to do on weekends. I lived in his moldy basement because I was saving for something specific, waiting for the right opportunity. 3 weeks before the eviction notice, that opportunity finally came. A 4-bedroom Victorian house 6 blocks away, the one Dennis had tried to buy last year and got outbid on. The owners were selling again, and this time I had enough for a cash offer. I closed on it the day before Dennis taped that notice to my door. I didn't tell him because I wanted to see his face when he figured it out himself. Moving day arrived, and I hired the most obnoxious moving company I could find. Big trucks, uniformed crew, the works. I made sure they showed up at 8 in the morning when I knew Dennis would be outside watering his lawn, which he did every Saturday like clockwork. I watched from my car as the first truck pulled up. Dennis looked over, confused, then walked toward my unit. The crew started loading furniture, and I could see him getting closer, probably ready to complain about the noise or the trucks blocking his driveway. Then his wife came outside and pointed at something. I got out of my car, and Dennis spotted me immediately. You're really milking this move, huh? He called out. Must have found some cheap place across town. These guys can't be cheap, though. You're probably spending your security deposit on movers? I smiled and told him the company gave me a discount. He snorted and said I'd need every discount I could get where I was going. His wife asked where I was moving, and I told her the address. She frowned, said that sounded familiar, and pulled out her phone. Dennis was still rambling about how I should have just found a roommate when his wife grabbed his arm. Her face had gone completely white. That's the Victorian, she whispered to Dennis. The one you wanted. The one that sold last month. Dennis's expression shifted from smug to confused to something close to panic. He asked what she was talking about, and she showed him her phone. I watched him read whatever real estate listing she'd pulled up, watched his face change colors like a mood ring. Wait, he said slowly, looking between me and the moving trucks. You bought the Whitmore house? I confirmed that yes, I bought it. Cash offer. Closed 3 weeks ago. Been doing some renovations before moving in. The kitchen's getting completely redone, new appliances. The master bathroom is being expanded. It's a lot of work, but worth it for a house like that. Dennis just stared at me like I'd started speaking another language. His wife asked how I could possibly afford that house. Dennis had bid on it last year, and they couldn't make the numbers work even with his rental income. I shrugged and said I'd been saving up, made some good investments, got lucky with timing. Dennis's mouth was hanging open now. You've been living in my basement for 3 years, he said, voice rising. You drive a 10-year-old car, you work retail and substitute teach. How the hell do you have Victorian house money? I told him some people are just good at saving, and maybe he shouldn't judge someone's financial situation based on where they choose to live temporarily. He drove past 3 times that afternoon, slowing down each time to stare at the moving trucks in my driveway.